A faint sound floated across the mist of an early morning as the tall, silent rancher tightened the straps on his worn saddle. The morning sun was just breaking over the hills, painting long streaks across the dewy fields, when a small voice, soft as a whisper, stopped him in his tracks. Asterisk. Please marry my mama, mister. She's all I have now. Asterisk. He turned slowly and was met with the wide, hopeful eyes of a tiny girl, no more than 5, her hand resting timidly on the old fence. The words sank deep into the man's chest, making it ache in a way he hadn't felt for years. Asterisk. He had lived a quiet, solitary life for as long as he could remember. After losing his wife and child long ago, he kept to himself, rising with the sun, working until dark, finding comfort in the routine of the land. The silence of the hills was his companion, the wind his only conversation. But now, this tiny voice, this tiny person, was asking him for the one thing he had long ago buried deep in the earth of a forgotten grave. A family. Asterisk. The little girl was named Emmy. She stood on the edge of the field, wrapped in a threadbare coat, a hopeful smile fighting with the shy, fearful quiver of her lip. Behind her, in the distance, a figure emerged from the morning mist. A woman tired and weary, brushing hair from her forehead as she approached. The rancher didn't recognize her, but he could guess why she was here. Times were hard in these parts, and he'd seen many families drift through in search of work. Warmth or kindness. Asterisk. Emmy, come back here, the woman called softly, brushing a hand over the girl's shoulder. I'm so sorry, sir. She doesn't know what she's saying. The woman's voice was low, apologetic, a sound that spoke of long nights and heavy burdens. Asterisk. But the little girl refused to move. Please, she said again, looking up at the tall man with a gaze too old for her years. My daddy is gone, and Mama works too hard. She needs someone to help her. Will you be her husband? Will you stay with us? The sincerity in those words shimmered in the morning light. Asterisk. The rancher sank down to one knee, so he was eye level with the girl. The sight of those hopeful eyes brought a sting to his own, one he refused to let show. He glanced up at the woman. Her hand shook slightly as she pulled Emmy closer, brushing dust from the child's dress. Asterisk. She doesn't mean to trouble you, the woman said quietly, voice wavering. We came to ask for work, nothing more. Asterisk. The man rose slowly and nodded. There's work here, he said, voice deep and measured, and a warm place to stay if you're willing to work for it. He didn't smile, didn't extend a hand, didn't make promises. But there was a softness in his voice, a quiet hint that behind the silence was a heart that hadn't forgotten how to feel. Asterisk. Days turned into weeks, and the woman and her daughter settled into the routine of the ranch. The woman, Anna, was strong and diligent, rising before the sun to help with the chores. The little girl, Emmy, would run across the fields, giggle when the cows came close, and spend long hours making friends with the rancher's old dog. Man watched from a distance, quietly surprised at how quickly the sound of their voices filled spaces he hadn't noticed were empty. Asterisk. He had forgotten how a child's laugh could break the stillness of a long afternoon, how the sound of soft singing at the end of a long day could make the stars seem brighter. Anna worked hard, and she spoke little, but when she smiled, it felt like the warmth of summer had found its way into the long, cold winter that was his heart. Asterisk. Then, one evening, as the sun sank low and bathed the fields in amber light, he found Emmy on the porch, brushing the dog. Mister, she said shyly, do you like my mama? Asterisk. He froze for a moment, brushing a hand across the brim of his hat. Your mama is a good woman, he said quietly. The words felt like more than words. They felt like an admission. Asterisk. Will you stay? She asked suddenly. Will you stay with us and be our family? The words came in a rush, and she pressed a hand to his as if hoping that, if she held on tight enough, he wouldn't walk away. Asterisk. That night, when the stars came out and the crickets sang, the rancher stood at the edge of the porch, looking out across the fields. The memories of long ago came whispering with the wind, Memories of a wife he lost too soon, of a child he buried too early. The ache was still there, buried deep, but tonight it felt different. Not sharp and bitter, but soft, like a reminder that life didn't have to end when loss came. He glanced toward the tiny room where Anna and Emmy now slept. The glow of the lantern spilled across the floor, and he could hear the faint sound of the little girl's giggles as Anna read a bedtime story. The sound pulled at him, wrapped itself around the loneliness he had kept at bay for too long. The next morning, he rose early, as always, and tended to the horses. When Anna came out, brushing hair from her tired eyes, he stepped closer and spoke quietly. "You and the little one, you can stay as long as you want. This land, this house, it can be a home for both of you, if you'll have it." The words felt strange on his tongue, yet right. Anna looked up sharply, brushing a hand to the brim of her apron as she searched his gaze. Slowly, quietly, she smiled, a soft, hopeful smile that spoke of belonging. Days became months, and months became years. The fields thrived, and the house felt warm. The sound of Emmy laughing as she ran across the land became the sound that started every morning. Anna would stand at the door and watch as the little girl pulled the man by the hand, reminding him that life was not only about working the land, but about nurturing the heart. Through summer rains and winter winds, the three of them built a quiet, strong bond. The ranch became a refuge, not only for cattle and horses, but for the heart of a man who had long ago forgotten how to belong, and for a woman and child searching for a place where their roots could take hold. Then one crisp evening, as the sun sank low and the stars winked down from the velvet skies, the man stood beside Anna, the warmth of her hand resting in his. Emmy spun across the yard, laughing as the old dog chased after her. The sound rose into the twilight, filling the spaces between them with a quiet, sacred peace. The man pulled Anna closer, brushing a callous hand across her soft, tired fingers. The words came quietly, as if he was afraid the night wind might carry them away. "Will you stay with me? Will you and Emmy make this place your forever?" She smiled then, brushing away a single tear that shimmered in the waning light. "We already have," she said, voice soft and sure. That night, as the stars winked down and the crickets sang their midnight songs, the three of them came together on that old, weathered porch. The sound of the little girl's laughter rose into the night, wrapped itself around the heart of a man who thought he would never laugh again, and settled deep into the earth where love finds a way to grow. In that quiet space under a velvet dome of stars, a family was born, one that spoke of second chances, of healing wounds long buried, and of a promise that no matter how dark the night, the dawn can still bring light. In that quiet moment, the rancher, the woman, and the little girl became more than strangers. They became a testament to the fact that sometimes, when life feels lost, the heart finds its way home. And so, the land that had felt so lonely for so long came to life with the sound of a child's giggle and a woman's voice. The man who had tended fields and fences for years came to tend a heart that needed a home. The woman who had wandered, weary and weary, came to rest in the warmth of belonging. And the little girl, who had whispered a plea for love and belonging, came to dance across a land where she was cherished and safe. Time would pass, as it always does. The seasons would shift, and the days would rise and fall like the tides. But in that quiet corner of the world, a family lived, a family bound not by circumstance, but by choice. A family built upon the simplest of words, whispered long ago, by a little girl with a hopeful heart. "Please marry my mama, mister. She's all I have now." Those words, carried by the wind, became the foundation upon which a broken heart was rebuilt, upon which a weary woman found refuge, and upon which a child discovered belonging. In the end, it was a reminder that no matter how broken life may seem, no matter how long the nights have felt, and no matter how deep the wounds may run, Love has a quiet way of finding its path. Sometimes it arrives in the soft whisper of a little girl, brushing across a morning mist, reminding us that no one is truly lost until they forget to open their heart to a second chance. Asterisk, and in that quiet, hopeful space, a silent rancher, a weary mother, and a hopeful little girl found their way to a forever that none of them had dared to imagine. Word count, approximately 1,600 words asterisk. If you want this piece slightly adjusted, for example, with a stronger emotional build, added dialogue, or a hopeful epilogue scene, just say, and I can help. Let me know if you'd like that. Asterisk.